Hi my dear students, welcome back to the second part of this video lesson on Amigo Brothers by Piri Thomas. In the first part of the lesson, we discussed how the two Amigo brothers, Antonio Cruz and Felix Vargas, started feeling a gap developing between them. They sensed a wall rising between them as they were scheduled to meet each other in the division finals. And as the scheduled day was nearing, they felt more and more uncomfortable. And finally they sorted it out. How did they sort it out? They sorted it out by talking to each other. And what decision they took to make sure that their friendship would not affect their bout at all. They decided not to meet each other till the day of the fights. And they kept away from each other for almost a week. But even after 1 week, they still felt so much troubled. They were troubled by that mental conflict. What was that conflict between? The conflict was between their love for boxing on one side and their love for each other on the other. Being professional boxers, they both wanted to win. They both knew that there was no place for sentiments in the boxing ring. But being close friends, they couldn't think of hurting each other. So they both were so much upset. And even on the eve of the bout, the evening before the big fight, they both were upset. They both were thinking how to fight against each other. They both prayed for an easy knockout victory. Because they didn't want to hurt each other. They prayed for a quick knockout victory in the first round itself. So, dear children, now we are proceeding to the second part. But I think before we read the second part, you need to know certain basic things about boxing. And it's better you watch a short clipping of a boxing bout before we proceed to the next part of the story. So here you can watch a short clipping of a boxing bout. Once you watch that, we'll be coming back to read the second part of the story.
Back home in India, big fan base over there. Oh, good shot. Good right hand. And Gillen didn't see it.
Cracking by down. The timing more than anything else than that, the timing was really good. He's landed with a few right hands already, and there's another solid shot again.
And he's teeing off here. That's another big body shot. And Gillen's going to have to dig in here in this last minute of the first round to get through to the bell.
Look at the footwork of Singh though. When he had Gillen a little bit of trouble there on the ropes, just skipping out of distance and jumping straight back on him.
So often a fault, isn't it, of inexperienced fighters to cramp their own work. But Singh, a very good judge of distance, and he gives, oh, hello.
He's even knocking down the referee.
Referee David Irvin sees the funny side of it. I think it was an elbow rather than a punch, wasn't it?
But just before he put down the referee, there was a lovely little slip of the right shoulder and a left body shot.
Oh, good shot again. What I was saying, Barry, is that he's a very good judge of distance. He's got his man in trouble again in the closing seconds of this round. Gillen needed to fire something back. As he did so, down he went again. And Singh, I think, had just about finished his man here. The bell's about to go, but I don't think Gillen wants any more of it. And it's all over. It's all over at the end of the first round. And another outstanding performance from Vijender Singh.
Again, tremendous. Now grabs the first right hand to put Gillen down. And again, I think that was more timing, just over the back of the guard than anything else.
That is a cracking shot, Barry. That really is a good punch.
But he landed with that right hand a few times before. Just didn't quite get it full enough power with it. But I think the finish, I think it might have been a left hook to finish off the combination. That right hand hurt in there. There you go, there's a left hook.
Well, under the tutelage of Lee Beard, he's clearly moving well into the pro ranks and showing a man's strength as well.
Dear children, hope you have enjoyed watching Vijender Singh winning that bout convincingly. He could win the bout in just 2 minutes because he could knock out the opponent in the first round itself. But it doesn't happen always. A boxing bout usually lasts for 3 or more rounds. In the Olympics, there are only 3 rounds, each round 3 minutes in duration. Whereas in professional championships, the number of bouts may vary from 4 to 12. You have also seen how dangerous a game boxing is. You have seen Dean Gillen, the British boxer, getting so much hurt. And he can't even get up, even after the referee counts from 1 to 10. That is why Vijender Singh was adjudged the winner. So this is what happens in boxing. This is why the two amigos, Antonio and Felix, are so much upset thinking about fighting against each other. They know boxing is a dangerous game. It's unlike other games. And there are a lot of people who believe that boxing should not continue as a sporting event. And I personally feel that constant exposure to boxing may make children insensitive. It may even develop bloodthirst in them. As they watch boxing bouts continuously, they may even develop a taste for violence. So it's debatable whether boxing should be banned. And we could certainly take it up as a topic for debate at a later time. So before we read the next part of the story, I think we need to get more familiar with some of the boxing terms. Because in the next part of the story, we'll come across a lot of terms which you are not familiar with. So it would be better if we discuss some of those terms, especially the punches in boxing and some defense techniques. So I have listed some 4 basic punches in boxing here. The 4 basic weapons in a boxer's arsenal. So the first one is the jab. What is a jab? You could see it on the screen how a jab is delivered. It is a straight punch launched from the front hand. See how it is delivered. Now second one is the straight or the cross. What is the straight? This again is a straight punch, but it is delivered from the rear hand. The rear hand. A boxer stands in the ring in this way. This is his front hand. This one is rear hand. So if the punch is launched from the front hand, it is called jab. And if it is launched from the rear hand, it is called a straight or a cross. Now third one, you take the hook. The hook is a punch delivered by swinging the arm with your arm bent at 90 degrees. So see how it is delivered. The hook. It is delivered by swinging the arm. Usually it aims at the opponent's cheek or head. Now take the fourth one, the uppercut. What is an uppercut? The uppercut is delivered with an upward motion of your arm. See how the uppercut is delivered. It is delivered with the upward motion of the hand. And usually it is aimed at the chin of the opponent or the midsection. So dear children, these are the 4 basic punches in boxing. But don't think boxing is all about punching. Boxing is more about defense than attack. So there are some basic defense techniques in boxing. So we will discuss 2 of them here, bobbing and weaving. What is bobbing? Bobbing is the vertical movement of the head. A boxer keeps on moving his head up and down to evade punches. This vertical movement of the head is called bobbing, and the lateral movement, the movement sideways, the sideways movement of the head is called weaving. See how a boxer is being trained in bobbing and weaving. Now, this is the basic training given to any boxer, especially at the beginning stage. So dear children, you have now come to know about a few technical terms in boxing, and this would certainly help you understand the story better. Now we are going to read the rest of the story, and you know it is 7th of August and the scheduled bout is going to take place at any time from now. A few hours only are left. And all over Tompkins Square Park, people are so much thrilled. They are eagerly waiting for this all-important bout because their favorite boxers, their local heroes, Antonio Cruz and Felix Vargas, are going to meet each other in the division finals. So you could see that enthusiasm everywhere. So we are going to read that. Please listen to the story, but please make sure that you read each and every line on the screen.
Large posters plastered all over the walls of local shops announced the fight between Antonio Cruz and Felix Vargas as the main bout. The fight had created great interest in the neighborhood. Antonio and Felix were well liked and respected. Each had his own loyal following. The fight was scheduled to take place in Tompkins Square Park. The morning of the fight, Tompkins Square was a beehive of activity, with numerous workers setting up the ring, the seats, and the guest speaker's stand. The scheduled bouts began shortly after noon, and Park had begun filling up even earlier. The waiting time was over. Felix was escorted from the classroom by a dozen fans in white t-shirts. Antonio was escorted down a different stairwell and guided through a roped-off path. As the two climbed into the ring, the crowd exploded with a roar. Antonio and Felix both bowed gracefully and then raised their arms in acknowledgement. Antonio tried to be cool. He turned slowly to meet Felix's eyes, looking directly into his. Felix nodded his head, and Antonio responded. Bong, bong, bong. The roar toned to stillness. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer spoke, slowly. "Now is the moment we have all been waiting for, the main event between two fine young Puerto Rican fighters. In this corner, weighing 134 pounds, Felix Vargas. And in this corner, weighing 133 pounds, Antonio Cruz. The winner will represent the boys' club in the Tournament of Champions, the Golden Gloves. There will be no draw. May the best man win." The cheering of the crowd shook the window panes of the old buildings surrounding Tompkins Square Park. At the center of the ring, the referee was giving instructions to the youngsters. "Keep your punches up. No low blows. No punching at the back of the head. Keep your heads up. Understand? Let's have a clean fight. Now shake hands and come out fighting." Both youngsters touched gloves and nodded. They turned and danced quickly to their corners.
Dear children, you have just read how the fight between these two boys, Antonio Cruz and Felix Vargas, had created so much interest in the neighborhood, in that locality. And you have read about the preparations being made for this all-important bout to be held in the afternoon. And you have also listened to the announcement made just before the bout. And this is particularly important from the examination point of view because you often get such a question. So let us discuss a few questions from this part. The first question is, why had the bout between the two boys, Antonio and Felix, created so much interest in the locality? Why had this fight between these two boys created so much interest in the locality? This bout had created so much interest in the locality because they were the local heroes. They were well liked and respected by everybody in that locality. And they had their own fan following as well. So take my second question. Where was the fight scheduled to take place? And what were the preparations being made for the fight? Where was the fight scheduled to take place and what were the preparations being made for the fight? The bout was scheduled to take place in Tompkins Square Park. And right from the morning, preparations for the bout were on. And the other says Tompkins Square was a beehive of activity. Beehive of activity means a place where all are busy and active. Just like a beehive. You know, bees are known to be the busiest creatures in the world. And a beehive is always very busy. So the author says the people were very busy right from the morning setting up the ring, the seats, and the guest speakers stand. So both the boxers were now escorted into the ring. The waiting time was over, and now both the boxers were escorted into the ring by their fans. And the crowd exploded into a roar to see their favorite heroes in the ring. And the boxers now bowed to the audience first, and then they turned to each other. Antonio looked straight into Felix's eyes, and Felix nodded. And then the bell went. This was the first bell. Bong, bong, bong. And the announcer introduced both the boxers to the audience. He said, in this corner, weighing 134 pounds, Felix Vargas. And in this corner, weighing 133 pounds, Antonio Cruz. And why do you think it is necessary to mention the body weight of the boxers? This is my third question to you. Why do you think it is necessary? The third question here. Why do you think it is necessary to mention the body weight of the boxers? It is mandatory to mention the body weight because boxing competitions are held under different categories according to the body weight of the boxers. In this case, both Antonio and Felix were contesting in the lightweight category as they were weighing between 56 and 60 kilograms. So it is mandatory to announce the body weight before the commencement of the bout. So now my fourth question, what did the referee, what instructions did the referee give both the boxers before the commencement of the bout? What were the instructions given by the referee? What were the instructions given by the referee to both the boxers? The referee gave them 3 instructions. One was, keep your punches up, no low punches. So it is strictly followed in boxing. No punches below the belt is allowed. And if a boxer violates this rule, he will be penalized or he may even get disqualified. So second instruction given is no punching on the back of the head. This again is strictly implemented in boxing. No boxer can hit the opponent on the back of the head. And the third instruction given is keep your heads up. The boxer has to keep his head up. He can't keep it down. So these are the 3 instructions given to the boxers before the beginning of the bout. And then now both the boxers move towards their corners waiting for the bell. Once the bell goes, the first round would begin. Now we are going to read that part of the story, how they fight in the first round of that bout. So please read it and come back to have further discussions.
Bong bong, round 1. Felix and Antonio turned and faced each other squarely in a fighting pose. Felix wasted no time. He came in fast, head low, half hunched towards his right shoulder, and lashed out with a straight left. He missed a right cross as Antonio slipped the punch and countered with 3 lefts that snapped Felix's head back, sending a mild shock coursing through him. If Felix had any small doubt about their friendship affecting their fight, it was being neatly dispelled. Antonio's left hand was like a piston pumping jabs, one right after another with seeming ease. Felix bobbed and weaved and never stopped pouring in. He knew that at long range he was at a disadvantage. Antonio had too much reach on him. Only by coming in close could Felix hope to achieve the dreamed of knockout. Antonio knew the dynamite that was stored in his Amigo brother's fist. He ducked a short right and missed a left hook. Felix trapped him against the ropes just long enough to pour some punishing rights and lefts to Antonio's hard midsection. Antonio slipped away from Felix, crashing 2 lefts to his head, which set Felix's right ear ringing. Felix walked briskly back to his corner. Antonio gracefully danced his way walked towards his stool.
Dear children, you have just read how the two boys fought hard in that first round of the boxing bout. You have read how the two boys soon realized that their friendship would no way affect the bout. It was Felix who first charged at Antonio and gave him a punishing left. But he soon realized that a friendship would have no impact on their fight. How did he realize this? That is my first question. How did Felix's doubt of their friendship affecting their bout get dispelled? How did this doubt get cleared? So as Felix gave Antonio a punishing left, Antonio countered with 3 lefts that snapped Felix's head back, and he felt a shock. Then he realized that their friendship would not have any effect on this bout. So take my second question. What is Antonio's left hand compared to? Antonio's left hand is here compared to a piston pumping jabs in quick succession. So his left hand was so fast, he could pump jabs one after the other with seeming ease. So now third question here. How were they different in their boxing style? How were the two boys different in their boxing style? So we have already discussed how they were different in their appearance. Now we see they had a different style as well. They had different boxing style as well. They were poles apart in their style of boxing. Antonio, being tall, had long reach and he preferred to keep away from the opponent, whereas Felix, being short, always preferred to get closer to the opponent. Antonio was quick in movements and his left hand was like a piston that could pump jabs in quick succession. On the other hand, Felix was a bit slow in movement, but he had very powerful fists. His fists seemed to have dynamite stored in them. So his powerful fists compensated for his slow movement. So thus we find they both had a contrasting style of boxing. So the first round of the boxing bout ended with Antonio giving 2 lefts to Felix with Felix's ears ringing, and they both moved back to their corners. So dear children, we have come to the end of that part. Now in the next part of the story, you are going to read about how they fight in the second round of this boxing bout. Please read it and then come back for a detailed discussion.
Bong bong, round 2. Felix was off his stool and rushed to Antonio like a bull, sending a hard right to his head. Antonio, hurt, sent back a blurring barrage of lefts and rights that only meant pain to Felix. Felix bobbed and weaved, occasionally punching his 2 gloves together. Antonio waited for the rush that was sure to come. Felix closed in and feinted with his left shoulder and threw a right instead. Rights to the body, lefts to the head, neither fighter was giving an inch. Suddenly, a short right caught Antonio squarely on the chin. His long legs turned to jelly and his arms flailed out desperately. Felix, grunting like a bull, threw wild punches from every direction. Antonio, groggy, bobbed and weaved, evading most of the blows. Suddenly, his head cleared. His left flashed out hard and straight, catching Felix on the bridge of his nose. In a fog, Felix heard the roaring of the crowd, who seemed to have gone insane. His head cleared to hear the bell sound at the end of the round. His trainer sat him down on the stool. In his corner, Antonio was doing what all fighters do when they are hurt. They sit and smile at everyone. The referee signaled the ring doctor to check the fighters out. He did so, and then gave his okay. The cold water sponges brought clarity to both Amigo brothers. They were rubbed until their circulation ran free.
Dear children, you have just read how the fierce fight continued even in the second round of the bout, with both the boxers not giving an inch. Once again, it was Felix who charged Antonio, giving him a hard left on his head. And Antonio was so much hurt. And how did he retaliate as he was hurt? That is my first question here. How did Antonio retaliate as he was hurt? As he was hurt, Antonio retaliated by sending back a blurring barrage of lefts and rights. He retaliated by giving a blurring barrage of punches. A barrage of punches means a series of punches delivered in quick succession. So you could see a short video here. This is what they call a barrage of punches in boxing. And the two boys continued pounding on each other. And suddenly, a short right from Felix caught Antonio squarely on his chin. And what was the impact of this short right that caught him on his chin? That is my second question here. What was the impact of that short right that caught Antonio on his chin? Antonio was so much hurt and his legs turned to jelly and his arms flailed out desperately. This is what the author says here. As he was hurt, his legs turned to jelly. Turn to jelly means become weaker, get weaker. And to flail means to swing or move wildly. And as he was hurt, his legs turned to jelly and his arms flailed out in desperation. And both the boxers continued fighting, and Felix threw punches from every direction. And Antonio bobbed and weaved and just managed to evade those punches. And finally, once his head was cleared, he gave Felix a very hard left that landed right on the bridge of his nose. And how did the audience react as they witnessed this fierce fight in the ring? That is my third question. How did they react to see this fierce fight between the two boys? They roared loudly as if they had gone insane, as if they had gone mad. And now the bell went and both the boxers went back to their corners. And what did Antonio do sitting in his corner? That is my fourth question here. What did Antonio do sitting in his corner? Sitting in his corner, he smiled at everyone. And the author says this is what most boxers do when they are hurt. They simply sit and smile at everyone. So dear children, we have come to the end of that second round of the bout. And now the referee called in the ring doctor to examine both the boxers. Both the boxers were examined and the doctor gave his okay. And they both were rubbed with cold water sponges to make their circulation run free. Now, dear children, we have come to the end of this part. Now we are proceeding to the last part of the story. And in the last part, we would read about the third round of this bout. And that round is going to be decisive. And that round is going to decide the winner. We are going to see who would win this bout, whether it would be Antonio Cruz or Felix Vargas. Please read this last part and come back for a further discussion.
Bong. Round 3, the final round. Up to now, it had been tic-tac-toe, pretty much even. But everyone knew there could be no draw and that this round would decide the winner. This time, to Felix's surprise, it was Antonio who came out fast, charging across the ring. Felix braced himself but couldn't ward off the barrage of punches. Felix tapped his gloves and commenced his attack anew. Antonio, throwing boxers' caution to the winds, jumped in to meet him. Both pounded away. Neither gave an inch and neither fell to the canvas. They fought toe to toe. The sounds of their blows were loud in contrast to the silence of a crowd gone completely mute. The referee was stunned by their savagery. Bong, bong, bong. The bell sounded over and over again. Felix and Antonio were past hearing. Their blows continued to pound on each other like hailstones. Finally, the referee and the two trainers pried Felix and Antonio apart. Cold water was poured over them to bring them back to their senses. They looked around and then rushed toward each other. A cry of alarm surged through Tompkins Square Park. Was this a fight to the death instead of a boxing match? The fear soon gave way to wave upon wave of cheering as the two amigos embraced. No matter what the decision, they knew they would always be champions to each other. Bong, bong, bong. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner and representative to the Golden Gloves Tournament of Champions is... The announcer turned to point to the winner and found himself alone. Arm in arm, the champions had already left the ring.
Dear children, now you have read the whole story. You have just seen how the two boys, Antonio and Felix, won the hearts of all those people assembled there. You have seen how they fought like professional boxers in the ring. But just after the bout, they hugged each other and left the ring arm in arm. It shows their true love for each other. They have set an example for all of us. So dear children, let us now discuss a few questions from this part. My first question is, why do you think the author says this third round is decisive? The author says this third round is decisive because till the end of the second round it had been tic-tac-toe, evenly poised. It was anybody's game. And the third round would decide the winner. And since it is a final match, there could be no draw, one had to win. So he says the third round is decisive. So dear children, now the bell was given for the final round, and this time it was Antonio who charged across the ring and delivered a barrage of punches to his opponent Felix. And Felix also responded in equal measure. And they both fought toe to toe. And how did the crowd react to this savagery they witnessed in the ring? That is my second question here. How did the crowd react to the savagery in the ring? The crowd went completely mute to see the savagery in the ring. And even the referee was stunned to see the savagery. Now take the third question. Did they stop fighting even after the final bell rang? Did they stop fighting even after the final bell rang, and why? The two boxers did not stop fighting even after the final bell because they were past hearing. Past hearing means they could not hear. They were past hearing because they were so much involved in their fight. And finally, the referee and the two trainers had to pry them apart. To pry means to pull apart. The referee had to pull them apart. Okay, dear children, the final bell was given and both the boxers went back to their corners. And how were they brought back to their senses? That is my fourth question here. How were the two boys brought back to their senses? The two boys were brought back to their senses by pouring cold water over them. Cold water was poured over them to bring them back to their senses. Now take the last question here. Is it right on your part, on their part, to leave the ring before the announcement of the result? What do you think? Do you think it was right on their part to leave the ring before the announcement of the result? Maybe it is a violation of boxing rules. Maybe in boxing it is not allowed for any boxer to leave the ring before the announcement of the result. But here they are not just boxers, they are thick friends. And they have won the hearts of all the people there by that gesture of love. They have proven to the world they are champions to each other. So dear children, we have come to the end of that story. I think we have had a long session, so it's time to wind up. Goodbye.